Hey, it's Austin James. If you're like me, trying to live your best life while living with diabetes, you can relate to worrying if you're doing a good job managing your diabetes. I use the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor to get real-time glucose readings and see the impact of every meal and activity to make better decisions. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor can help me live life with diabetes on my own terms, and it gives me more time for the things I love, like being a dad and a musician. Now this is progress. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
In the time it takes us to say, we're using Folgers Instant Coffee, seamlessly blended with water and ice. A splash of whatever kind of milk is your thing. And gotta get that caramel drizzle. All to make a toasty, roasty, caramel iced coffee. You could be enjoying it. Every damn sip of it. Damn right. It's Folgers Instant.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/MBO. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Peloton. Looking for an easy workout? You're in the wrong place. Peloton Tread has what you need to challenge yourself. Need to be pushed to your limit? Their elite coaches will keep you on track to break past your goals. Whether you're looking to get stronger or faster, Peloton Tread has everything you need to become everything you want. Find your push, find your power. Peloton. Visit onepeloton.com to learn more.
Oh, Robbie, you're muted.
And welcome back to the Skinning Penguin Network, everyone. I was on mute there. I'm not sure how that happened. But, we are back. The Penguins just completed a 3-1 victory over the Montreal Canadiens on what is the evening of November 2nd. And it is safe to say, I think we all can agree on one point. Slow start to the season is over for Sidney Crosby. He is back. Another 2 goals tonight. Sidney Crosby back in the goal column, back in the point column. It's Sidney Crosby's show right now, and the Penguins are the ones benefiting the most as they move to 5-7-1 on the season, which is good for 11 points. But the big story is the Penguins now have 2 in a row. They end this little homestand with another win and head out on the road with a good feeling to hopefully keep this momentum going. And Snail, a very pretty even game for the most part. But Crosby, the difference as always, and Nedeljkovic once again solid in goal.
We're watching the Pittsburgh Sidney Crosbys. That's who they are right now. Because just the GOAT doing GOAT things, calling himself out in the media a couple of times, saying he needs to be better. He's not sulking. He's working harder than ever. And up until Blake Lizotte, we'll talk about later, getting his first tuck as a Penguin, it's been only Sid scoring for the Penguins, which you don't really like to see. But to snap this losing streak they've been on, I don't mind it. I don't mind the captain just taking the reins and being like, hop on, I got this. And it's on me. I love it. You said tonight was kind of an even game. Robbie, I haven't enjoyed a game this much in quite a while. Let me set the scene for you guys right now. It's Saturday night out here in the Pacific Northwest. Not as late as it is out there, but still it's dark out. Nice rainy evening. We ordered pizza from a local pizza joint. Mm-hmm. I got jalapenos, red onions, and jalapenos, and black olives on my vegan cheese pizza. I'm watching. It's hockey night in Canada. Pens, Habs. Sidney Crosby, always. I love when Sid plays the Habs. I love when Canadian teams play the Penguins and Sid. And Bunting mixing it up, just really being a prick. Noel Acciari, who has had a strong start to the season, I think we can all agree on. He's been significantly better than he was last year. Yeah, just mucking it up. A couple of questionable hits, couple hits that I love, just laying the body. it was a physical game. It was chippy. Brendan Gallagher's pissed off. You've got Dvorak pissed off. You've got the two people doing their jobs that do that job on the Penguins. Sidney Crosby, couple goals. I mean, Robbie, what's not to love? It was I thoroughly enjoyed tonight. I will go to sleep with my head restfully on my pillow, thinking about what a great day it was. All thanks to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
And you'll do so with an extra hour of sleep tonight.
Do we fall back?
We do fall back this evening or in the middle of the night somewhere. So, yeah, you get an extra hour of sleep wherever you're at outside of, I think, like Arizona or something like that. But, no, Penguins, just a good showing from the Penguins. I think one of their best showings in a while. The third period maybe rested on their laurels a little bit, but when Montreal scored, instead of wilting like they have so many times in the past, they just kept playing their game, doing what they did best, and kept Montreal from getting that tying goal, and eventually Blake Lizotte into the empty net for his first as a Penguin. Just a good, solid team win tonight to kind of give them a good feeling here heading into a Metro road trip, which is
scary.
Very significant games coming up for the Penguins. You have Washington in one of them, the Islanders in one, and I believe the Hurricanes in another. So have to get points out of these games coming up. Like, this win tonight is great, but you have to get points out of these upcoming games, and it's going to be a major, major test for what are the Penguins. They obviously are under 500. The West Coast road trip is kind of behind them now with these 2 wins, but you got to get wins out of these next 3 games because it can easily fall apart. All these good vibes can easily fall apart should the Penguins completely wet themselves against in this upcoming stretch of Metro hockey.
Yeah, it's going to be a significant road trip. I think that this is going to be one of those road trips where this is going to kind of define where the Penguins are at. I think you feel that way too, Robbie, at all? Like, I think it's been a rough start to the year. Sid's had a slow start. I think he's afforded that at times, but that West Coast road trip was kind of shocking. It felt like there were a couple times there where you're looking and you're like, they're already out of it. Like, it's not there. It's not going. They're not a playoff team. But then, like tonight, I've been harping on Sullivan. I don't want to call it knee jerk because it's been a couple of years, but I've been hard on Sullivan. Tonight, I thought was a great example of when Sullivan's system works, the Penguins can really put the pedal to the metal and kind of one of those instances of like a great defense is like a great offense. Like, I saw the forechecking, the tenacity, the speed. It all was kind of put into practice tonight, and it really helped. I mean, the Habs did not look dangerous for large portions of time throughout the night. Yeah. So, going forward with them heading out on this road trip, facing Metro teams where every point is just a little bit more valuable, it's going to be really interesting to see which Penguins team shows up, because if it's the wilting flower once they get scored on and the defense is Swiss cheese, there's going to be some tough nights ahead playing teams especially like Washington, who's absolutely rolling right now. I mean,
Capitals playing really good hockey.
Capitals are playing really well. They are not the Capitals of last year. But if you get a team like tonight, they can compete with anybody, I think. I mean, Montreal's in trouble. I think that they got bag scattered the other night. Marty St. Louis pissed. But it's going to be interesting to see which team shows up. And I think if the team like tonight shows up, even against a team like Washington who's rolling, or a team like Carolina who seemingly had their number for years now, and that pesky, what's his name? Brindamore, that coach back behind, but the coach behind the bench for the Carolina Hurricanes. Mm-hmm. If we get this team that showed up tonight, I think that they can really. I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to get 2 points in a couple of these matchups.
Yeah, and it's a massive stretch. It's no doubt about that. The games against your division opponents are always more important, but this is a chance to really kind of lay down the gauntlet a bit and say that, hey, we're not going away quietly. We're still the Pittsburgh Penguins. We still have Sidney Crosby. We still have Evgeny Malkin. So we're not done. Again, You don't need to win all three, but you definitely can't go out and get swept, because then it's just a complete and utter disaster. Two of the games being against the Islanders, who the Penguins now currently sit above in the standings, and Carolina.
Islanders stink.
The Islanders always are a pain for the Penguins, though. It doesn't matter. The Islanders could be dead last in the division, and the Penguins could be first. That's still going to be just an absolute annoying game to play. And then Carolina, not a bad start to the season by any means, but they're only at like 9 games played, so they got a bit of ground to make up here in the coming weeks and months. But another team that, hey, you don't know exactly where they're going to be. And then Washington, who's a rivalry game to begin with, either way. And it would be great for the Penguins to go in there and be the team that kind of puts an early chink in that armor that the Capitals seem to be wearing. Crosby now at 14 points through 13 games, something we'll keep an eye on, obviously, throughout the year. He now has 5 goals on the season, pushing him to 597 on the year, giving him just 3 more until the big 600 plateau. And it'd be great if he did that in Washington. I think that would be a very, very significant if he did that in Washington. And he doesn't remind me of the kind of guy that sits there and thinks about that too much. It just comes when it comes. Malkin, he said he had relief when he got his milestones. Crosby reminds me of a guy that's just going to go out there, do the work, and when that number he gets there, he gets there. Not going to panic too much, but doing it in Washington would be a pretty special moment. At one point, after the Penguins scored, after Crosby scored his second goal, Crosby had actually factored in on the Penguins' last 7 goals at that point. 3 assists on Tuesday, 2 goals on Thursday, and 2 goals this evening. So Crosby's he's Sidney Crosby. Nothing should surprise us anymore, and nothing really, frankly, does surprise me. I just, when you talk about him, he's just doing Sidney Crosby things, and it just shows how truly blessed we are that he, one, is a Pittsburgh Penguin and took less money this offseason to re-sign for another 2 years after this one. It's just, he's Sidney Crosby. That's all there really is to say about Crosby at this point in his career. Yeah,
just not that anyone need reminding, but he's reminding everybody again. Doesn't matter how old he is. I mean, to be honest, Robbie, I thought that maybe when Sully put him and Malkin back out there after Lazot's empty netter, I thought Sid might be like, "Give me the hat trick, I thought he might be a little bit like, you know what, this game's iced. Let me try to get a little bit closer to that. I know he's not typically that type of person, but I thought maybe that's Sully nudging him, being like, go out there and try to get another one, get the hat trick tonight. So, just the GOAT doing GOAT things. Just him kind of reminding us as viewers, not that we need it, and maybe the rest of the league that, that he still got it, and no one should be questioning that.
Yeah. He's Sidney Crosby. Love it.
It's hard not to get romantic about a Penguin squad with Sidney Crosby just lighting it up again. You know what I mean?
And you just really have to enjoy these games and these years as long as we get to enjoy them. Just savor them. I know that it can be frustrating when they struggle on those nights, but it's still a joy to get to watch him play hockey. And I know I'm going to enjoy it for hopefully at least 2 more years after this one at the very least. So fingers crossed for health, and he can keep racking up the points.
I think he will.
Yeah. You said it on the last episode. Alex Nedeljkovic is the number 1 goalie on this team right now. I think tonight, along with what we saw on Thursday night, pretty much just reinforce that line of thinking right now that he's quite clearly, of the 3 goalies that have played in the NHL this year for the Penguins, Alex Nedeljkovic has, at least for now, cemented that number 1 spot.
Agreed. I mean, I thought he played great, allowing 2 goals in the last 2 games. The competition, you could put an asterisk next to it if you wanted, competition wise, because these aren't the strongest opponents. But the team, the Penguins in the past sometimes they'll lose these games against these types of opponents that maybe aren't playoff teams, or they've had no problem losing or getting completely shelled against teams that aren't playoff teams. So I think that Ned is our number one goalie. I think he's been great. I think that the team has also played pretty well in front of him, which always helps out a goaltender. I've heard Jari down in the AHL is undefeated in his starts down there. Robbie, what would have to happen for Ned to lose his net at this point?
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/MBO. Terms and conditions apply.
This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
This episode is brought to you by Etsy.
Oh.
Hear that?
Okay. Thank you.
Etsy knows these aren't the sounds of holiday gifting. Well, not the ones you're hoping for. You want squeals of delight. Happy tears.
How did you?
And spontaneously written songs of joy.
I am so happy. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, the song needs a bit of work, but anyway, to get those reactions, make sure everyone on your list feels heard with handmade, handpicked, and designed gifts from small shops on Etsy. Gifts like personalized jewelry, custom artwork, cozy style items, vintage pieces, and home decor to celebrate all of your favorite people and their specific kind of special. For original gifts that say, I get you, Etsy has it.
Thank you! I couldn't have completed this project without a little extra coffee. And since I brush with Colgate's Pro Series toothpaste with an expert-level whitening for a vibrant glow, I could show up to set each day camera-ready and smiling wide.
Well, Kelly, looks like a little Colgate gave you a lot of confidence.
Colgate Optic White. Find it at all major retailers.
Honestly, I don't know what. I would say it would have to be a week or more of just bad goaltending play. They do have a back-to-back coming up this week, so he's obviously will get Blomqvist in one of those games. But I think it's going to take it would have to take, I think, up until Thanksgiving. Maybe maybe the week before Thanksgiving, because there's after this string of these 3 games on the road coming up, there's a run of mostly home games, so they're going to be in a favorable home environment. I believe it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of their last 10 games of the month are at home. That's not after this, starting after this upcoming 3-game road stretch. So you're going to have a favorable home environment. The schedule is not, I would not call it easy by any means, but you're always going to feel better playing home. And unless he would completely just fall apart, I don't see any situation where he would lose the starting goaltending position. At worst, he becomes a 1A to a 1B, whereas if Blomqvist comes out and just has a bunch of strong showings, you kind of maybe rotate him in a little bit more. But in my opinion, aside from the wheels coming off at this point, Nedeljkovic is your top goaltender.
Yeah, and I don't foresee that happening because, Robbie, honestly, since Ned's been acquired by the Penguins, has he ever really just like, I mean, of course, every goalie will have their day where maybe they're not as sharp or that they'll get shelled or pulled. But, I mean, leading up to the last month of last season, there's been the argument that he's the number one guy.
Yeah,
so
true.
It'll be interesting once Jari is done with his conditioning stint after that 2-week period. What if they give him a start and he gets it's 3 goals on 5 shots again?
Then you're back to square one, asking all the same questions you just did. You just did before you sent him on the conditioning stint. At that point, I'm glad I'm not Kyle Dubas even more than I am now, because I don't know what the easy answer is at that point. I really don't, and I wish I did. but I don't have an easy answer for you if that is the situation that presents itself. So, I mean, as a Penguins fan, fingers crossed that we don't have to go through that.
Oh, yeah. I'm not rooting against the guy.
Yeah. But it's going to be very interesting after this week. We'll have more clarity on what the situation is in goal. But, yeah, I mean, if he comes back, they call him back up, send Blomqvist down, and he just puts in a stinker again, you're back to square one. And I don't know. At that point, yeah, you have to consider waivers or just eating something on a trade, something like that. That's just all I really can say about that right now.
Just curious, just for conversation's sake, because we're not there yet. He's not even done with his stint, but there is going to be a day, and it's not in the not so distant future, Robbie, where this Penguins team is going to have 3 goaltenders again, and they're not going to be on a road trip and sending one home, and Jari's going to get a start. This month. He's going to get a start. And it's going to be very interesting depending on where the team's at. They could be, getting shut out again. They could be, on another 5-6 game losing streak. They could be rolling and getting themselves up to 500. Jari's going to be coming into one of those two situations, and there's going to be a choice at some point. So after a strong start from Ned tonight, just the goaltender questions, we talked about goaltending quite a bit in the offseason, and the goaltending questions will always kind of be on the back of my mind after games like this. Strong start, weak start, no matter what. So figured we'd throw in a little bit of goalie talk there. But
I mean, we're going to be talking about it until we get a clear picture on it. We're going to be talking about it until then. And it's I guess for now, it's not the elephant in the room because it's kind of settled in for the past week and then into this week. So we don't have to. It's not quite as much of a focal point as they kind of get back on the winning wagon here, but it's going to rear its head again here soon. So best talk about it now and get yourself prepared for whatever could happen. Because I mean, in a world that you can create yourself, Jari comes back and is an all-star goalie. I don't have faith in that happening, but the literal best case. Actually, the best case scenario is he's average.
Yeah.
I mean, worst case is whatever we've seen so far this year.
Actually, if it's the worst case scenario, and it might make things easier for you, because it's actually, if it's the worst case scenario and he's a complete gas can, that's an easy decision for you.
One thing I do wonder is if, say, Jari bottoms out and they have to do something, waivers, trade, whatever, if they don't call up Philip Larson and send Blomqvist down to the AHL just to get him a more consistent starting job for maybe the second half and to manage his workload a little bit, to maybe manage him for the post 4 Nations run to the playoffs.
Hey, that's
and then possibly again, if it doesn't work out, maybe Philip Larson plays enough that he becomes an interesting trade piece for a team, and he gets a look in the NHL. I just think that is a potential scenario that to keep in the back of your head as this goaltending situation continues to shake out, just to manage Blomqvist's workload and to get him as much ice time as possible. Because if Ned's a starter and is playing like the starter, he's going to get the bulk of the starts. And I'd rather Blomqvist continue to develop and get pucks anywhere. It's just better than him sitting on the bench.
That's a good point. And I agree with that, because I was actually curious. I was going to, when we were talking about Jari, there's something in my head where I'm like, does Blomqvist even see the AHL this year? Is there a chance that he just is on the, whether wearing the ball cap or getting, the lesser starts, the starts against lesser teams for the rest of the season? But I guess we'll see. Like, I think by Thanksgiving we'll have a better idea of maybe where things are trending goaltending wise, and then definitely post 4 Nations Cup type of deal. That's going to be some interesting. That's a spicy meatball, and I wish I had a crystal ball just to get a little glimpse of that drama. But we'll get there soon enough. But yeah, an excellent start by Ned again. He is the number 1 goaltender for them right now. Robbie, they play the Islanders first, correct?
Islanders, Hurricanes, and then Capitals. Yes.
Okay, and they're going to be in Long Island, where Matthew Barzal has been put on the shelf alongside teammate Adam Pelech for the next 4 to 6 weeks. This is already a thin roster. Maybe we'll get a look at Pierre Engvall again, they just signed him to like a 7-year contract, and he's been in the AHL. Bo Horvat, great hockey player. Matt Martin, newly acquired, old player, newly acquired off a PTO. Looking forward to this first game against the Islanders. Dude, the Penguins need 2 points in this game.
Oh yeah, the Islanders are going to be a team that, if you're fighting for a playoff spot, are going to be a team that hangs around even without Barzal and Pelech. They seem to be a team that just kind of is there. So yeah, you need 2 points out of this game. Of all the 3 games this week, that is maybe this early in the season the one to circle a little bit more than the other 2. But yeah, you got to go onto the island, take 2 points, ugly or not, and just be happy with yourself.
I agree. Do they play Monday?
Tuesday, and then Thursday and Friday.
Oh, okay, so a couple days before their next game.
Yeah.
I hate that. I love when it's just a day, just skips a day. It's just a day in between.
Yeah.
I love when we can rifle off like 5 games like that. That's just makes life so great for me. But that's just never the way the cookie seems to crumble.
Well, there's 1, 2, 3. There's 4 back-to-backs this month, starting on Thursday, Friday. So it's going to be a pretty hectic month after this week. Some breaks, but especially the weekends. They are just packing games into the weekends. So a lot of hockey to watch when you're not too busy. So that'll be something to keep an eye on too.
Well, that's all I really got for this one, Robbie, but excited for the month of November. I love the month of November. I like September is a great month. October is a really great month. November is a great month as well. Lots of sports happening. We actually just recently, before the end of the World Series, had one of those sports equinoxes where like every professional
I
sports
think it was last Monday, I believe. All 4
NFL, NHL, NBA, MLB, and then I actually think too, like MLS was on.
There was the big 4 were playing, and then I believe it was MLS, and there may have been even one of the smaller sports leagues that was going to. It was quite a convergence of sports. We get them. It's always in October because that's when everything is going on at its peak. So yeah, it's a lot of sports, and there's still a lot of sports. Only baseball is over now, so we have at least 3 sports still going here until January, February, and then I'll do it all over again. But
yep. But yeah, November, Thanksgiving. Hopefully the Penguins are right around a playoff spot by the only Thanksgiving that matters.
The only one that matters.
And then you can tune out for the rest of the year because that just means they're mathematically going to make the playoffs, as they say. So
yeah, and the Penguins have a Thanksgiving Eve home game like they always do. So give you something to little appetizer before the meal the next day. So Snail, I don't really have anything. If you don't have anything.
I just got to say, I'm so happy that the Penguins, that Achari played like. If Achari can play like this, if Bunting can play like he's been playing, did you see Graves going at? God, I don't even know who it was. Graves was a madman trying to fight some guy. I've never seen emotion like that stemming from that giant, like just Slender Man looking fellow on the Penguins, but. I loved it. If the Penguins can carry some of that into these next games against the Metro, I'll be even if they lose, I'll be a happy camper because at least a little bit of piss and vinegar out of this team never, always gets me jolly.
Yeah. And definitely a little more sandpaper and grit these last few nights. They were probably ticked off coming home from Canada. So they wanted something to prove. Even though they lost to Minnesota, it was still kind of a feel good kind of night with Fleury in town, but now 2 wins in a row, and we hope it keeps up because you're feeling a little bit better now that they've won a few games here. So, yeah, fingers crossed they keep it up going back on the road.
That's all I got, Robbie, but
all right.
Great game by the Penguins.
Great game by the Penguins. Crosby gets 2. Blake Lizotte gets his first as the Penguin to put a bow on a 3-1 win over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Alex Nedeljkovic continues to cement his role as the Penguins' top goaltender right now, and The Penguins are off Sunday and Monday. Tuesday, back on the road on Long Island. The New York Islanders just kick off a big Metro stretch next week. As always, we'll be back to talk more Penguins hockey as it unfolds. Have a good night, everyone.